Hello and welcome to KSP. It has been quite a while. Well, that's a good way to start. So basically, because I'm completely rusty at this, I've fired up my stock, almost unmodded KSP client. I'm not going back to the career mode I started with the modded client just yet, and I'm also, as a little experiment, trying recording this at the same time that I'm streaming it, just to see how my PC and OBS copes, but so far it's looking fairly good. So, the other thing is, hopefully also my internet will behave this evening. I'm going to have to phone up my ISP, because yeah, it's been dropping randomly from time to time, which is not much good when you're in the middle of a round of World of Warships, or trying to stream, or both at the same time. So let's get this loaded up and have a quick glance at the chat. Who's here? Cruiser Prince Eugen. Hello, Cruiser Prince Eugen. Are you by any chance a World of Warships fan? Also, we can actually put the in-game music on as well, because it's actually rather good. And hopefully that will be sufficiently loud for everyone to hear. So, God, I can't even remember what is going to be in the plane park over here. Let's take a look-see. It has been, like, probably a couple of months since I fired this up. I've been starting to... I don't know, I've hit one of those phases where KSP is becoming more attractive again, and I've been watching people streaming it a little bit more and stuff like that. Oh, hello! Okay, that didn't have a good time with the physics loading. Okay then, RIP that plane. So yeah, that was my first SSTO on this build, and probably my first ever SSTO. I think I'm sure I did that on a stream actually, which is a rather ugly looking craft, but anyway. And some of my other various funky looking planes, including this one which flipped itself upside down. Oh, okay. Hey Grizzly, yes. Yeah, I am so rusty at this, so we're probably just going to follow some contracts and keep it relatively simple, and I'll be keeping an eye on OBS all the while. So let's go to Space Center. We're going to want to recover that plane that flipped upside down, I think. Hey Tomato Team. So yeah, it will just be this this evening. It's that one, I believe. Yeah, let's recover that from the plane park. And recovered funds, bloody blah. Right, okay. This is maybe going to take a little while for me to refamiliarize myself. Right, I had apparently unlocked all of the tech tree. Having said almost no mods, MechJeb is still in this. But otherwise there's not even any visual mods, so it just completely looks like stock KSP. Admin building? No, why do I go for... Oh, no, wait, flight control. I go to, like, the flight control, mission control, there we go. To see what my active contracts are and what my other... we've got a plant flag on the Mun contract. And some Minmus rescue contracts. Build stations. We might go for the plant flag on the Mun contract. Let's also take a quick look-see at what ongoing flights that we have. And as you can see, all of my completely haphazardly placed comms relays and the other things. Oh, I think, yeah, I had the Duna mission ongoing as well, but that's still got quite a ways to go before Duna encounter. So that's a fair ways off. And apparently I've got some kind of ongoing... Oh, something with a... I think that was to do with some kind of ore contract. I remember that being one of my ore carrying, but that's 80 days away. That's just circling around ad nauseum at the moment, and that's not really important. We can leave that circling. So, let's take a look at the space stations. This is going to be my primary one, High Castle. And we'll see how many Kerbals we have aboard it, that kind of thing. We don't have life support or any such thing, so that doesn't really matter. life support is a factor in my modded career playthrough, and I have a nasty suspicion, because that's the Galileo Planet Pack that I had on that modded build, along with a whole other bunch of mods. How's the sound, by the way? Do let me know. So yeah, I have a nasty suspicion that I'd sent them to like the equivalent of Duna, although it's not occupying the same position as Duna, but yeah, they're not going to get back in time before the life support runs out. So I have a nasty feeling that when I fire that up, it's just going to be killing the crew. So there we go. There's High Castle, which appears to have a whole bunch of Kerbals aboard, in fact. So that's just, I don't know, sitting up there doing its thing. You remember the hotkey, that would be useful. And I suspect the other space stations didn't actually have anybody aboard. Oh yeah, no, that's fairly basic. I think that one I built just for a contract, so it could get me some cash without actually the intention of adding much to it. Good, okay, it's not too loud and I'm not... Okay, as long as you can actually hear it, that's good. And there we go, that's just another core of a station as well that never really got built upon. Didn't I have an ore processing station around the moon? I think we need to go back to the tracking station for that. I don't know if this VOD is going to, like, if I will put it on YouTube. I'll probably just upload my local recording and then do the, you know, transfer the VOD from Twitch just to see how they compare. But I guess it depends how it goes in terms of whether I then stick this. But it'll be nice because I can, you know, either the VOD or my local recording is going to be 1080p. So that's going to make putting stuff on YouTube so much simpler. I suspect it was this one. There we go. I think this was my moon ore processing operation that I'd set up. And the idea is, if I remember correctly, because it has been a while, this thing processes the ore into fuel, and then the fuel basically gets transferred back to Kerbal in orbit. Yeah, there we go. We're in the night side at the moment, but it's a bit of a slightly odd-looking station, but it all kind of more or less works. Oh yeah, my little... I got rather into that idea, but it's not exactly original. I've seen a whole bunch of other people use the little unmanned tug idea as well. But it's nice though. You can just have fully modular stations and couple and uncouple things. Hey Manti, yes, effectively they did, but I've still had some reliability issues. So hopefully, touch wood, the internet connection will stay stable and I won't get disconnected for a minute or two, as has been happening a fair bit recently, even since the supposed upgrade. So yeah. So what we'll do, I mean, I've got that infrastructure in place for like refueling and everything, but I think we'll just send like a self-contained moon mission instead of having to go and dock with things and refuel with things, and you know, because we're fine in terms of actual funds. This is me just trying to get a hold of the ropes again. Now, this is a whole bunch of craft files, or just crafts, spaceships. Question is, which one? I can't remember what any of these things are. What's an LDR1? Oh, that's an ore rover. Okay, so presumably the LDR2 must be some kind of ore rover as well. Yeah, I can't remember what any of these things are. So also some kind of ore thing I was building. Maybe, yeah. There's another ore processor, but that's just a lander, not a rover. Clearly hadn't gotten around to actually trying to launch that. Right, those are my orbital fuel vehicles, unmanned launched vehicles. What are the OX? No, I think the OX ones were strictly Kerbal orbital. Yeah, I have a feeling I was using these for transferring passengers around. Maybe the OX2 could get as far as the moon. Or was the OX2 one of the lander ones, actually? This might have been one of the self-contained landers. Oh no, that was for coupling up with an existing lander. I'm sure I've got one of those where it has the lander that's kind of like built in with it. Or did I have... Do I have... Oh, that's not... No, okay, that bug's still there. Do I not have one that can just land as an all-in-one thingy? What's the OX2? The OX25! I really was naming these like in a really, I don't even know, non-descriptive manner. I know all the Kerbin 1 components are all modular space station parts. Maybe it's one of these KS ones I should be looking at. What's the OX? The OX3! What's the OX3? That's just a large capacity orbital shuttle. It's like a 7-man launch and recovery thing. I think that's my my main kind of Kerbin orbit passenger shuttle, I think. I can't remember. Oh, there's the TOG, of course. The Space TOG! We're not going to send the Space TOG to the moon because it can't land on the moon. So there's that. Although it does have the built-in integrated lander. Is this the in-game music? Yes, this is the in-game music you're hearing right now. Makara Baduk. So yeah, the Space TOG still exists. I don't think we've got one of those in orbit or anything, but yeah, I still have that craft file. It's still, you know, alive and kicking, as it were. I've actually got, is it Kerbal X? I can't remember the name of the website, but I have an account on there, and the Space TOG craft file is actually on that website. So you can go and download your very own custom handcrafted Space TOG that has a lander turret and try it out for yourself. So that's a thing. So it must be, I think this was my very first round the moon craft, the KS1. So is it one of the later ones? KS1B. I'm just literally looking at everything. Right, KS1B appears to be a lander. So I'm thinking this is one that... Although, no, having said that, that's just a two-person... No, that's not something that can land under its own power. That's just a return to Kerbin lander. Okay. And this is... I'm literally just going through my old craft because I have no idea. And then there's the KS3, which is way more expensive. I think this might be an all-in-one. Yeah, that comes with its own... Okay. That's the lander that was already attached to the moon station. I swear I had one that was an integrated all-in-one moon lander that didn't have a separate, you know, Apollo style. Maybe I did, and it was in the other Korea save. In which case, we might build a thing. Also, I think the other one... Yeah, the other one is where I had some weird little shuttles as well, because the modded save is one with tweak scale, and tweak scale's really fun. Tweak scale should just be part of the base game, to be quite honest. Right, we might be... Are any of these like adaptable, or am I just building something from scratch? I might be just building something from... No, wait, I think this was an all-in-one lander. I think it's this one. I think it's the OX2. Although it doesn't have any science packages. Wait, what does MechJeb... Okay, let's open up the Delta V stats for MechJeb. And... I think it's this one? Maybe? Oh, hey, little Mark. There you go, I noticed you now. Are you happy? Is it this one? Let's have a look at the... It's certainly got the power to weight, as it were. Or the thrust to weight is the correct term, obviously. I think... Right, what we're going to do is we're going to try using this one, and I think this might be... Is it, though? Oh. I did not mean to do that. Right, there we go. We've Control Z'd, so that should undo any of the... No, it can't be this one, because... No, that's not a landing configuration. No, that can't be an all-in-one... I don't know, I think I was just... I must have been in a mood to get fancy with having separate landers. And made the OX... Not the OX, well the KS3 and then making the OX ones that could use the landers that I was leaving behind already. So let's do that then. Let's make another one. Let's what should we call it? I guess we'll call it a KS4. Is it worth basing off one of these other designs? Probably not. No, okay, let's just kind of start from scratch then, because it's good practice if nothing else. So I guess we'll use the Mark 1 command pod. It's kind of weird having so few parts, but compared to the modded version, but it's probably a good thing. Otherwise I'll be sitting here scratching my scratching my head trying to figure out what does what. Right, so yeah, we'll keep it simple. We'll just have a single command pod. We won't bother with oodles of stuff on top of that. We'll want oh, I can't remember where anything is now. Some of these things we will need, but we want a utility bay, which is actually not in utility at all. Is it in payload? Yes, payload, there we go. 2.5 meter, there we go. And then we're going to want to stick a heat shield on the bottom of that. And I don't know if we want to... Does it need a docking port? Probably not. But we might stick one on just in case. You know, if something does go drastically wrong, it's nice to have the option to dock this thing. So we'll have to use the radial mount parachutes. I almost said radial mount torpedoes there. No, we're not taking space torpedoes. No, that's not a thing that's happening. So I need to name and save this. Right, we're going to very imaginatively name it the KS4 all-in-one, because that way I'll know at least what this one's for without having to go and look through all the different, yeah. Right, we're going to want... stack separator. Do we want a decoupler? I can't remember which one's which. I think we want a decoupler. Right, okay. Communications would probably be a good thing. Let's see if I can remember literally any of the hotkeys. Right, so that's one, and then we'll have... we only really have to communicate, because we're only going up to the moon and back, so we only really need... like, we don't need a mega high gain antenna. So that should do. Okay, that's all good so far. So that's comms taken care of. Parachutes are maybe a little bit important, so we should stick some of those on. Just clip them in very slightly. This is for Kerbal return, obviously. See you, little Mark. Thank you for joining us. I'm just trying to, like, this is going to be me adding things in probably a more or less random manner. Well, which sure that's the right way around, and should be. Right, we're going to want to remember to set action groups for all these things as well. Pull that out very slightly. Okay, that's all good. Do we maybe want a couple of like drogue chutes on here as well? I mean, you can never go wrong with too many parachutes. It's better to have too many parachutes than too few parachutes. Too few parachutes would definitely be an issue. Right, actually, it's like the command hatch. We have them a little further down. There we go. That looks better. Okay, so we've got some drogue chutes and then some main chutes. I think we'll use the structure that we had in, was it the KS? No, the OX2. I can't remember which one I was looking at now. Where we have the landing legs recessed in the bay, which means we're going to need some. Actually, no, we don't actually necessarily need that. We can have the landing stage below. That would actually work fine. Okay, so yeah, we need to think about that as well. We need a mech jeb. So we'll stick one of those on. Suddenly we have Delta V information and such like, which is all very useful. Do we want to? Yeah, we'll add in one of those. We need battery. Right, let's make it 2 batteries for good measure. The budget's not really a concern. What else? Don't need anything fancy like fuel cells. Solar panels obviously very useful. Change symmetry. Let's take out solar panels. Say there, that should do. The controls are coming back to me, the VAB controls at least. Is there anything else? Would probably, I mean, if I just have it be fairly conventional, we're going to need to remember to stick another ladder down there, so I'll actually leave that ladder out for now. We could even be completely fancy and put a radioisotope generator in there, which does rather bump up the cost, because those are expensive. Although, actually, no, you know what, it'd be a heck of a lot cheaper just to add another battery. So we've got mech jeb, we've got parachutes, we've got solar panels, we've got battery, we've got reaction wheel, and we'll actually just leave the monoprop in there. Well, actually, no, we don't really need the... It's more that something can come and dock with it rather than it has to go and dock with something else. So, you know what, we can save the weight and take the monoprop out of that, so that's fine. Right, right, next stage. So, we've got the actual, you know, crew and return capsule stage. We can close those doors for now. Oh, we could put some science. Well, I would say we could put some science. We can put some science instruments in there, but honestly, I think we've gotten most of the. It's more of a flag planting mission than a gathering science mission. Oh, hello. That's new. That's a new part. I mean, this is 131. I've not played since the 131 update, so what's that do? Sentinel infrared telescope. This must be a stock part they've added. Oh, I wonder if that's part of the asteroid day thingy. Maybe? Maybe. Right, so, what science instruments can we slap on? There's a lot of these we're just not going to necessarily need, but if it's a craft we're recovering, then it doesn't necessarily, you know, we're not throwing away oodles of money by slapping on some thermometers and gravioli detectors and such like. Now, we could somehow bodge a Science Junior in there, but we might actually leave off the Science Junior just to save some weight. I mean, I could like stick it in the nose and just squeeze it down, but that's going to look a bit weird. So yeah, we'll leave off the Science Junior, but we'll have the other science experiments. I don't think there's anything else relevant. So, okay, that's our science payload, and so yeah, the next stage. So this is going to be our descent, ascent, and returning stage. So we might need like some drop tanks or something. There is a heat shield in there. The Ninja underneath the, or above the decoupler there. Right, which tanks are which now? That's too big. So something like that, maybe. And then... Right, we don't want to set that to... Lunar gravity. And even something like a Terrier would be apparently sufficient. That would give me a not unrespectable, yeah, that's a pretty decent amount of delta V. I'm gonna probably completely overcompensate in terms of delta V because it's been so long since I've done any of this. We do obviously need... Right, this is, I mean, this is not going to be elegant or any such thing. This is just going to be a very, very clunky design. So yeah, we can have the two ladders kind of on the same action group, so they will theoretically pop out at the same time. And do we want, what am I looking for? Coupling. Do we, is it going to be worth just having maybe a small pair of like side tanks? Or is that already enough delta V? Well, I'm trying to remember how much it costs to land, because we've got to land and take off and then get home, so we might want more delta V. Hey Seriad, I'm just trying to reacquaint myself with the basics of rockets because it's been so long. Yeah, I mean, I could take out. You're right, the Ninja. We could take out those batteries and put in a Science Junior, I guess. I don't know. We'll think about doing that. Let me figure out fuel tanks first. Right, how much extra would a pair of these add? Right, so they would give me an extra 700 meters a second delta V, and it's not a particularly significant cost in terms of the thrust to weight. So that should be fine. That's basically just about 3,000 meters a second delta V. I think that should be more than enough for landing on the moon and coming back. Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Makara. 500. So I'm probably vastly overcompensating with this amount of having these drop tanks, but you know what? Never mind. You would rather vastly overcompensate than the other thing. Right, landing legs. Oh, I need to remember where landing legs are. I say have a trio of... Nope, that's not the part I was clicking on. No, KSP, I'm clicking on the legs. See, it still does that. Well, that should be sufficient clearance. Oh, yeah, that's rather clipping inside. That's no good. We're going to have to do 4 legs, maybe. Oh, but then that blocks the... That's really annoying. We might have to... How about there? We might have to do some really weird leg placement. We could stick legs on the outside of the drop tanks, but it kind of assumes that we're going to have the drop tanks for long enough. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. It's quite finicky about letting you grab those. Why maybe kind of do that? It's a bit fussy, but it works. It's just then I have to make sure they're placed at the same level, which I think they are. The easiest way to check is just to lower it to the ground, I suppose. Right, that should work. These ones need to be like very slightly lower. Right, that should be okay. Let's retract those. Man, this is such a fugly looking design. Not going to lie. This is extremely fugly. I've made prettier spaceships, but it's been so long. Right, so in principle, as a landing stage, this is more than good enough for getting to the moon and back, and then back to Kerbin. In principle. So then we need the next stage. We're actually going to use a small decoupler. Okay, the staging is still correct, that's fine. If I use an aero shell, we can actually kind of make our own, there we go. Our own fairing, essentially. And that should be... Yeah, that should be fine having them in the same... Oh, actually, no, we can unstage the fairing and just have it go off the coupler, and then that will fall away, essentially, that section there, so that's fine. Oh, the plan is, Makara Baduk, that we'll find terrain that exactly matches the slight offset of the landing legs, and we'll do it that way, and then we'll pretend it was all completely planned. Right, so I think what we might do is we might just completely... I think we're going to just have this be an orange tank, an engine, and then asparagus stage some boosters, which is a bit quick and dirty, but you know, if it works. A skipper, I think, should be sufficient. Yeah, skipper is more than sufficient. Right, that's... I don't think we'll even have to do asparagus stages with engines. I think we can just asparagus stage some drop tanks, essentially. and that should be fine because the oh no, wait, we're still looking at, okay, no, we need to look at Kerbin now. Okay, you know, that's a different picture. Okay, yeah, we will need some engines on these drop tank stages then. So once again, some radial decouplers. Should we say 4 stages? Nah, 4 will be fine. 6 would be completely overboard. It's kind of vaguely coming back to me. Very, very vaguely, but you know, looking at some of the other designs that I was looking at previously, yeah, this is not elegant. this is anything but elegant. It's like a baby's first rocket all over again. So, I think I can vaguely remember how to asparagus stage. First off, we are going to want to set up the fuel lines, which is, there we go, fuel tanks, and then we go da 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 and da da da, and then we have to actually make sure the staging is correct for those decouplers. So that, oh, so wait, there's that one. That one, so we drag those 2. Yes, so those are the outside stages, and then that's the inside stage. So that's fine. So then we need some just relatively low power engines, and I remember enough to make sure that we turn off the gimbal for those outside, so maybe some LVT-30s. All need to go at the same time. 1.61 total delta V of 6.4. Is that going to be enough? I think so. I think it's going to be enough. Or is that, no, maybe it's not. I'm so rusty. How much delta V do I need to get to orbit again? I mean, we could just give it a go and, you know, it's like figure it out that way, but somebody in the chat might have a better idea. I am so rusty at this. So very, very rusty. I do remember that we want some stabilizer fins. So let's go with those, and we can also... Where are the clamps? Now I've said clamps, all I can think of is that one character from Futurama. Oh, there we go. Structural... Launch stability enhancers. And auto strut to grand parent part for the fuel tanks. 3,200. So it's probably not enough delta V. So we might actually need some solid rocket boosters. I'm not putting any engines there. No, that's for like lunar injection and landing and everything. 860 delta V. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking this might then not be enough to get to orbit. That maybe we need some more. I don't know. We'll do a test launch and we'll see what happens. Because you've been staring at this screen for like 40 minutes, so yeah. Pilot, scientist, engineer, that's all good. Oh, action groups. So we'll toggle solar panels on the first action group, second action group. Actually, we'll put the antenna. Where did I stick the antenna? We'll put that on the first action group as well. Right, action group 2, we shall make the ladders. And that might be it, I think. I mean, we don't need to action group the landing legs or anything like that. And everything else is staged, so we could do it that way. Having said staged, we need to just double check the staging. Right, those can be actually in the same. And the saddle tanks. And that's all for coming back to... Okay, so, yeah, this is almost certainly not enough to get to orbit. But we're just going to give it a go. We're just going to see what happens. And if there's hilarious explosions or something, then that's entertaining too, I guess. Oh, KSP has stopped working. Okay, fantastic. Bear with me. My design is so amazing that Kerbal Space Program fell over. Yeah. When we envisioned things exploding and going wrong, Kerbal Space Program exploding and going wrong was not the thing I envisaged, especially. I crashed before I even took off. Exactly. Right. I mean, that design was saved. That's all good. Okay, let's just select it from the launch pad then. And pilot, scientist, engineer. And let's hope it doesn't just crash this time, because that would be nice. Okay, right. I think we'll be using MechJeb, and I think it probably doesn't have enough Delta V. I think Ninja might be right, but we just want to give it a go, basically, and see what happens. So, ascent guidance, I believe, is the one that I want. Altitude, let's set that to 80 kilometers. Stop at stage 4. We want 4 to be the last one in terms of getting to orbit. And engage autopilot, and then I just hit the space bar and we'll see what happens. So that's not too bad off the pad, that's fine. That's all looking smooth so far. They've definitely... There's a couple of things in the UI that look a bit different. I mean, the fuel bars, for example, definitely occupy a little more space than they used to. So there goes our first stage of asparagus. Going to smash back into the space center, and it'll probably all be fine. I'm sure nobody will die, probably, maybe, possibly. And then we've got another 25 seconds of burn on that that stage, and then we've just got the main orange fuel tank, and we're going to see how well it gets into it. We're not getting any handling issues, it looks like. Just taking a peek at the yeah, we're on course with the ascent path. Those stages. Oh, we are flattening out a bit though. I don't know if this is us flattening out more than we want to. Because, you know, the aerodynamics of having these things sticking out the side is not super brilliant. Yeah, we might need a bit more thrust, maybe. We're starting to seriously flatten out. Yeah, this is not looking good. This is not looking good. Okay. Well, you know, I promised explosions, so we're going to let it explode and crash, and we'll see what happens. What's the thing I'm looking for? Orbit info, I think. Yeah, there we go. Orbit info. Yeah, we're now falling back to the ground. And that's totally what we wanted, right? Plummeting back to the Earth? Yeah, that was totally what we wanted. Yeah, this is fine. this is fine. I don't know why. Maybe it seemed to have limit angle of attack. That might have, like, that option actually might have been the issue. We're actually losing speed despite the fact that the rocket is firing at full throttle. It's not going to burn up. It's not going fast enough to burn up. That's the kind of air resistance effects. But yeah, we're actually dropping speed. So, I'm just wondering if I, like, kill the autopilot, can we just disengage everything enough to slow down enough to pop out the drogue chutes and save our brave astronauts? You know what? We're going to do this. This is the abort. We're not actually going to revert. And it's going to cost me a bunch of funds, but who cares? It's only Kerbucks. Right. I'm sure the flight director won't be happy, but anyway. So, we can probably speed things up a little bit. Yes, yes, I know. Affect the stability of the blah blah blah. Well, this isn't a particularly big spaceship. And I think generally speaking, as long as you're not physics warping or time warping when you're about to touch the surface, it should be fine. And we know this is certainly enough parachutes. So there we go, and a nice gentle splash. So that was completely according to plan. We'll try that again. I think it might have been that limit angle of attack tick box that was the issue there. It might have been a mech-jeb, you know, a PEBCAC error, a mech-jeb issue rather than. Because, you know, mech-jeb is only as smart as the options that you tell it to take, essentially. So let's try that again. Did he deliberately? Yeah, that's exactly... No, it used to be that just mesh through each other, but they actually made a change where they would kind of not do that, and it looked a little bit more realistic. Right, so we'll turn that option off as well. 80 kilometers. And what did we say? Stage 4 for the control. Right, let's give this a go again. And just keep a little eye on this screen, because that'll tell us if we're staying on the assigned path. I could well add some SRBs. Just for more, you know, a bit of cheap thrust. Because at the moment it's all liquid staging. Hey, Mr. Guitarist. Well, it's possibly not just you. I didn't actually stream for quite a long time. Oh, did the mention of some cheap thrust get you excited, Cyberwraith? That's good to know. Yeah, we're flattening out again. It's not just the, like, maybe we could do with more. Oh, hello. Oh, that's fine. Didn't explode anything actually on the rocket that was important. Yeah, the thruster weight really does rather drop down quite dramatically. I think we just need more boosters. I think that's it. I think we need more boosters in the classic KSP style. It is trying to correct itself. I mean, it's definitely less dramatic than last time. It maybe could do with a slightly better thrust away off the pad. Maybe something closer to 2. Because at the moment it's about 1.6 and it drops to about 1.15 when we ditch that final pair of asparagus boosters. How do you not have Kerbal Space Program skull helmet? I mean, it's almost certainly going to be on sale with the Steam Winter sale, so you've got no excuse for not having it. If I toggle F12, I suspect those side tanks are what's causing some of the issue. So we are picking up speed, but this is a very shallow trajectory. We're not sinking back to Earth yet, we are still gaining height. But the thing is, we're still relatively low in the atmosphere, so we're working against the thicker atmosphere, which is not particularly fuel efficient. So this is slightly suboptimal, but less likely to result in explosions and crashes and things going kaboom. So we're starting to pick up some serious velocity, but we're also down to the last like 400 meters a second in the main tank. And the little poodle engine on the upper stage is not going to be sufficient to get us to orbit. We're still too low in the atmosphere, and it does not have enough thrust. So yeah, instead of a nice gentle curve, we've kind of had a start of a curve, and then we've just had a straight line. No, we're still definitely suborbital. There goes the... Yeah, we'll just see. We'll just see what happens, but we've got a TWR of like 0.3. So Apoapsis is actually going to start falling, I suspect. Or it's not going to get above 70 before we start to run down on... run out of room, essentially. Hey, I am Kosh. I mean, theoretically this could get to orbit, but it's not going to have enough to get to the moon at that point. Yeah, I am so rusty at this. Did I mention that I am so rusty at this? I mean, I think this might well actually just be able to get to orbit, but we needed to get to orbit with essentially, you know, all these stages intact. Or more or less intact. The outboard tanks would give us a big chunk of the delta V that we would need to get to the moon. I don't know, maybe this idea of saddle tanks is just not... Or maybe I need more of them. Right, this is actually going to achieve orbit, but that's still not really what we want. What was it for solar panels? So yeah, we're on our way. How much delta V is it going to reckon we need for... Well, we won't know until we're a bit closer, I don't think. Are you by any chance a Babylon 5 fan, Kosh? 138 meters second delta V. That's not so bad. That's not so bad. You know what? We'll drop a quick save. I think Siriard might be right. You know, this is not quite an optimal design, but we'll drop a quick save and then maybe just try for the moon anyway. See what happens. I think it is literally just plant a flag, isn't it? So we just need to plant a flag. So yeah, there's not a lot of thrust in these little engines. Or this little engine, but it's an efficient engine, and that matters. Have a little in-cockpit view. See Kerbin sliding by. Right, I don't think... Oh, he's definitely not a skilled pilot. So we're going to have to use the smart-ass panel to point ourselves where we want to be. Right, so, it's F5 for a quick save, isn't it? We can get rid of the Ascent Guidance page, or panel, rather. Right, quick save. Okay, so, Maneuver Planner. And I'm completely mech-jebbing all the way for this bit. Hum and transfer to target, create node, 856. I mean, worst case scenario, I get these Kerbal Nauts stranded on the moon, and I have to improve my design and go and rescue them. And I've already got designs capable of getting to the moon and back. Hell, worst case scenario, it can actually go to the moon station and dock. Except it kind of can't because I didn't put any RCS systems on it. So, yeah. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. We'll sort it out as we go along, and it's fine. This is, you know, it's fine. This is meant to happen. Right, 861. So let's just set the next node execution, I guess. And then we'll time warp our way there. So that's going to be a couple of minutes. Well, that's true. Worst case scenario is fiery death on impact. I mean, I literally, like, this is all completely unnecessary. I literally could have used the lander that's at the space station already in the moon's orbit, and I could have just sent the lander down, had a Kerbal Naut pop out with a flag, bam, job done, contract attained. But you know what? Stuff it. This is, you know, I want to familiarise myself. We already have craft that can land on the moon. I have done it, but I just fancied an all-in-one design, and a very ugly all-in-one design it is too. So yeah, I could have actually left on the small amount of monoprop and just stuck some RCS clusters on, and then I could have had the fun of meant to do that. I could have had the fun of remembering and trying to do manual docking. So we're getting there, but because this is a rather low thrust engine, yeah, it's going to take a little while. We'll also have to keep an eye on that so we can just drop those outboard tanks and make some space litter. Although I could actually hang on to them. The empty weight's not going to be too much. It's not efficient though. But I could hang on to them and then just drop them when we're approaching the moon, basically, and then they'll crash into the moon rather than float around in Kerbin orbit. Although, you know what, I could just... Actually, we'll just ditch them, and then I can just delete them from the Space Center. I've not been being precious about I have to go and collect every bit of space junk myself. I've not been doing anything like that. Because you kind of need the grabber for that, and I'm terrible at using the grabber. Hey, Nikos! Why is everybody coming in and saying Privyet? Is there something I'm missing? I mean, generally speaking, there is usually something I'm missing. Oh, I've also realised we could have actually... We did not need full ablator. Of course we didn't. I didn't think of that. So there's another thing where we could have actually saved some weight, and like half or less of that amount of ablator would have been fine. In fact, probably like 200 ablator would be fine for returning from the moon. Anyway. So, yeah, I'm so rusty. Have I mentioned that I'm so rusty at this? Very, very rusty. Do I want to be the new science minister in Zimbabwe? Yeah, that's been some news today, hasn't it? Oh, well, oh, it was. Well, it was this morning I woke up and I saw that. But, you know, it probably happened earlier. But yeah, that's been, I don't know. Who knows? We'll see how that works out, I suppose. I mean, you know, nobody's going to particularly miss Robert Mugabe, we'll put it that way. But on the other hand, militaries taking over is usually not a great thing either. But there have been very rare occasions when there's basically been a military takeover and actually they have then gone on to, you know, hold elections a year later and it's actually made things more stable. But that is definitely not the norm. Right, so warp. We can see Kerbin swooshing away from us in the background. And swooshing ever closer to the Mun. And then we'll figure out our orbiting maneuver. Right, so circularize periapsis, and that's 200 meters a second delta V. We certainly have enough delta V, you know, to get to the orbit and to get to the Mun's orbit and just sit there and then go back home. But it's the, you know, the landing, taking off, and getting back home part that might be tricky. I'm not sure if I've got anything at the space station that could get to these guys. Oh, we're not even going to be orbiting in the same direction, so that actually makes it especially difficult. I didn't even think to check that. Location Kerman's Trek. Oh, that's because I've got a... That's where my ore processor is at the moment. Yeah, I don't think I've got anything that's really capable of getting from there to there and transferring fuel. Because changing orbital direction is a very expensive maneuver. Yeah, this is all MechJeb hates. This is... I've always been a scrub at this game, but you know, I typically, if I leave it for a really long time, I'll maybe start off a career with taking off rockets and stuff manually, but I prefer the designing of rockets and just checking if they can, you know, successfully execute the missions I want them for. And all the manual takeoffs and landings gets a bit tedious rather quickly, so... What's the best frozen pizza? Frozen? I don't know. The Co-op have some reasonably nice pizzas. But as to the best frozen pizza... Right, we've got 1,393 meters a second delta V. And bear in mind that MechJeb isn't the most... fuel efficient when it comes to making landings. So we want somewhere reasonably close to the equator and somewhere reasonably flat, so maybe there. The Midland site, that looks alright. So if I say land at target, And then we'll do a little orbit, and it should start to deorbit us. Yeah, we might well strand these guys on the surface, and then we'll have to send a rescue mission, but that's fine. That's just a very Kerbal thing. That's a very Kerbal way to go about it. It's just such an ugly spacecraft. Well, it's not so bad now we've dropped the saddle tanks, I suppose, but... Right, that is not where I want to land, MechJeb. MechJeb, what are you doing, MechJeb? What are you doing, man? I don't know what MechJeb is doing now at all. I haven't quick saved it from this point. We only quick saved when we were in Kerbal in orbit, so... The co-op is the cooperative. It's a chain of shops / businesses. Right, that is so far away from the actual target that I set, and I don't even know if that's flat ground that it's going to be landing on. Yeah, I don't know what MechJeb's doing right now. It's burning the engine at a very low thrust. But I mean, on the island we've only got a Tesco and a cooperative anyway, and co-op pizzas generally are just vastly superior. They've also got, I mean, in the frozen section, they've also got the Pizza Ristorante ones. I don't know if you can get the Chicago Town ones here. You certainly can't get the Goodfellas ones. But I mean, if I'm getting a frozen pizza, typically I'll get the co-op frozen own brand ones, because they're rather nice. MechJeb, what are you doing, MechJeb? Right, if I'm concerned that it looks like we're kind of landing in the middle of a crater there, so if I slightly walk that onto what looks like flatter terrain. And then we walk forwards a bit, and then we'll just tell MechJeb that we want to auto-land. Having said that, that looks like... yes, I live on the Isle of Lewis in the Outer Hebrides. Right, we still do have several minutes of burn time, so that's not an issue. So I might as well deploy the gear at this point. No, actually we do want it to point retrograde, don't we? Okay, so walk forward maybe another 3 minutes and then tell it to just land somewhere, and it should just keep going until we get close enough to... Yeah, I don't know why, like, the auto land feature is normally not that unreliable. I don't know why it absolutely mangled the coordinates I wanted. It put us like a quarter of the circumference of the planet away. RetNav, I think it definitely had an impact. I mean, you know, my videos don't get featured anymore. You know, I don't ever get like retweeted or have my videos on the portal or anything like that. So yes, I think it has had an impact, and with the mysteriousness of YouTube's algorithms favouring just new videos above all else, yeah, it's I don't know. seems like it's more difficult for people to find me these days, for potential new viewers to find me. The only anything I've had since that was the British battleship skull helmet. Was getting that preview access for that. Because basically Mr. Conway contacted myself and Jingles and said, would you like this as a one-off thing? And I thought about it. I did actually consider saying no, but then I thought, you know, I'm not going to get another chance at this. So, you know, it was clearly Mr. Conway going out on a limb for us after us having both publicly walked away from the program. So it kind of would have felt like we were. Well, for my part, it would have felt like I was being a jerk. Right, the ground is getting a little bit close. I think we're going to be on the far side of this crater, or are we headed for the crater wall? It's really hard to tell. I didn't put any lights on the bottom of this thing. We're completely half-arsing this mission. Right, I think we've got enough to get back into orbit. The ground's getting rather close. But I don't think there's any way we can get back to Kerbin. Right, we are at least going to come down on flat ground. Ish. Flat-ish ground. Those could be famous last words. Oh, I hope they're not famous last words. Oh, no, it looks good, maybe. It's a little bit slopey, but... Whoa. Slight bounce. Hooray, we're down. Right, we have 544 meters a second of delta V. So there we go, there's the ladders deploying. So I think what we'll do is we'll warp till morning, basically. So we can actually see what's going on the surface. Hey, Foo. There was definitely no crashes or explosions or things going wrong. Definitely not. That's lies and infamy. Actually, speed it up even more than that. It's slightly surreal seeing the universe sliding by. So yeah, we're on... Wow, we're just on the crater rim as well. We could have, like, a couple of 100 meters and this would have been a disaster. And everybody would have died, but it's fine. This was all according to plan. We knew this would happen. Hey, Latika Mafia. Okay, so we'll get them all out on the surface because it'll give them all some experience, basically. I didn't even set... there we go. I'm pretty sure we'll have our scientists do that. Donk! That was meant to happen, honest. Come on. Oh, there we go. It's definitely completely meant to happen. Right, so this is our commander. We'll have them, Orny Kerman, who is just so happy he didn't die that the plaque is going to say, hooray, we didn't die, essentially. And you can actually see what I'm typing on the screen because it's all 1080. Right, yeah, we're on the Midlands, so this is there's not really any. I'm pretty sure we've had the science that we're going to have. Right, well, EVA, our scientist, and she can actually run the experiments. Resource analysis performed. Observe mystery goo. And just run through and get a pittance of science, because we've basically, I think we've gotten all the science that one can get. Take data. Pick data. There we go. Actually, store experiments. You know, she's so excited she just wants to go whee and jump off into space. It's a good thing they're so durable, Kerbals. Because that might have been slightly leg breaking otherwise. Right, there's a little bit of science to be had out of... and bear in mind, you know, having researched the entire tech tree, science basically means extra funds for me at this point, because I'm pretty sure I have that policy selected. Yes, CyberWraith, that is well spotted. Well, they're very good at falling on their heads. That is, in fact, the logo of Caledonian McBrain Limited, who run the West Coast and Clyde ferry service. Wow, I've managed to get them all in shadow. That's not going to make any kind of good screenshot. Anyway, I guess we'll try taking a screenshot or two of it anyway. Not sure if any of these are like this is terrible angling and positioning and whatever. So that I don't think that really works as a. Anyway, so yeah, let's get these guys back inside. Oh, that's a bit too far. Yeah, that doesn't quite reach to the ground. Actually, one of the other there we go. Oh, another one of these long ladders would have probably been better. No. Oh, that's because it's B for board. Of course it is. Just as it's always been. I suppose we could have one. It's too late. I'm not getting them. Like, it's so awkward to pose them. I want to see if we can get our brave Kerbalnauts home. And that's a flag, so we can't walk that back anywhere because it's a flag. Well, that's going back a fair ways, Retnav. Right, so retract the ladders. And... Right, I guess we'll just go into quite a close orbit. The legs are also fine, considering that they were put on separately in pairs. I have no idea if we can even get back to orbit. You know, this thing might crash and kill everybody. This thing definitely set off from Kerbin with not enough Delta V. Yeah, 300 meters a second. I don't know if this is going to be enough. Actually, let's set that super low. Let's change that and set that to like 20. No, it's still 441 meters a second to get to 20-kilometer orbit. This might be either a very wonky orbit or I might just have literally killed everybody. Which would be an excellent start to me having a go at KSP once again. In which case it would have been better to leave them on the surface and have somebody come and rescue them. I might just have doomed everybody. But you know, if I have, we're just going to roll with it and accept it. And it'll just be RIP. And the fact that they put a flag on the moon saying, "Hooray, we survived," will become, you know, faintly ironic. Right, okay, yes. They are doomed. They are absolutely doomed. Would it be possible to... I don't know. No, they're not going to have enough Delta V in their... And there's no time to make any kind of intercept with the... Nah, we've just doomed them. Yep, they're dead. I'm afraid they are definitely all, in fact, dead. We could try the get out and push option. But this isn't Minmus, so I suspect it's not going to work. And we're actually kind of pushing it off center because the engine's in the way. How much? No, we're already starting to sink back down. I'm just kind of wondering if it's possible to like pick up enough speed to get the individual Kerbals into orbit, but probably not. We didn't get high enough. And of course I have to kind of do them one at a time. So picking up velocity, but the thing is, there's not enough time. That's going to crash. That's going to crash, so at most I can save one Kerbal Naught. So we're trying to gain speed and we're trying to gain altitude, but I've burned over half already. So I've created my own rescue mission. How's the craft doing? Yeah, they're going to be too low. Right, is this enough? Right, actually we can leave them for now because the apoapsis has been pushed way out. So, could we do the same again with like our engineer? I have a feeling the answer is no because the surface is getting awfully close. But if we do manage it, then it will kind of appropriately be the pilot that goes down with the ship. So we've got one that's on a suborbital trajectory already that we can probably turn into an orbital trajectory. Right, is this high enough to buy time? Maybe. Oh, I think we're about to witness the final end! R.I.P. Okay, so... right, we need more height. We've actually saved 2 of the 3 crew members. Wow, this was such a derpy mission. If I just listened to who was it that was saying that I needed just like some more Delta V at the start? It was like Ninja or somebody, I think. So yeah, we need to. This is such a Kerbal thing. This is such a Kerbal thing to have done. Right, so switch to target. So 2 of 3 have survived. It's fine. That's basically, you know, 2/3 of a success. So what we want to do is warp. There. Right, what's the direction of travel? Can we figure out by looking at the ground? So I think we want to, rather than push up, we want to push kind of forwards and... There we go, we've turned into an orbit. Oh, no, 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 no. Periapsis is dropping. Why is the periapsis dropping? Okay, 27 kilometers by 56. So they are now orbital. That's fine. We can go and pick them up. We can go and rescue them from Cannery 1. And we need to do the same thing for Dafuki. Oh, not set target, switch to. So we want to do the same thing as figure out the... Yeah, it's a good thing there's no life support mod. Again, we only need a bit of a push. Oh, no, wait, is that the right... That's the right direction. Oh, hello. Hello, the camera. You went a bit wonky there. Yeah, this is... Okay, this is... We are thrusting in the correct direction. There we go. Okay, so they're now both in orbit. And now we have to rescue them. Okay. I got the scientist and the engineer out. The pilot went down with the ship. If I just listened to you to begin with, Ninja, it all would have been fine. But no, I had to, you know, I had to know better. I had to just wing it and give it a go. So, where are we? Maneuver planner. And... Oh, whoa, 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 don't! That was the engines. Don't do that. Why are the engines even enabled? That's a bad plan. So that was... that was good. Excellent. Yeah, that was meant to happen. We were just... That was a planned orbital adjustment, you guys. That was a routine thing, 100% routine. That was, you know, that was always going to happen. Yep. Oh, time warp. That's true. We can just cheat and use time warp. Right, we do want to get it back, kind of facing more or less the correct direction. Right, so yeah, that was good. Alright, I can't remember. Can that thing? I'm trying to remember. Okay, that is not tanked up at all. So that's the first order of business. Is we need to put fuel into the lander tanks, which might actually take a while because this is a whole bunch of it's a whole bunch of little tanks, which is a bit of a yeah. So I think what I need to do is just pin all of the little tanks. This is going to be tedious. This is 100% going to be tedious. This is a downside of this design, and an upside of an absolute massive upside of if you use tweak scale, because instead of having to have 50 bazillion little tanks to fit, you know, a particular design, instead you can just have one of the bigger, longer tanks scaled down to fit. And because they tend to follow the same scaling, generally speaking, you'll get the same fuel capacity. So, yeah. This is one of the reasons why it would be super nice to have tweak scale in the base game. Right, I don't know if I need to fully fuel. Right, go out and out. This is all fuel that's been processed from ore taken from the moon, but we've not collected any for a while, so we don't have huge reserves. We can also empty out that tank there as well. The scaling's a bit weird because like bigger tanks seem to fill up quicker than smaller tanks. You think smaller tanks it would fill up dead quick, but it doesn't. It basically takes the same amount of time. The space hog. We actually I took a brief look at the space hog earlier on, Latika Mafia. It's still sat there in my game files. Yeah, this is slightly painfully slow. I could just revert to the quick save we had while we were in orbit around Kerbin, orbit even around Kerbin, but yeah, I'm just going to go with it. You know, the disaster happened, we lost a pilot, lessons were learned. The lesson being that I am incredibly rusty at this game. Yeah. I think we'll just fill up all the tanks on the lander just to be on the safe side. We do also have that craft there, but that doesn't actually have an exterior docking port. You know, this one's just a single tank. But the downside is that, yeah, the Kerbal Nauts can't enter or exit except via, you know, when it's docked to another craft, essentially. So for rescuing my stranded in-orbit Kerbal Nauts, that wouldn't be much good. Oh, and because I clicked on the thing, it's paused the, yeah. I think I've also managed to skip one of those small tanks. I've just counted the number of things on screen. And it's 9 when it should be... No, it is 10. Okay. No, it is the correct number and I just can't count. Because counting to 10 is hard, you guys. Oh dear. Yeah, I think once this rescue is done, I'll probably wrap up the stream there, because that will take me to about 2 hours anyway. Most likely. So yeah, that's the plan. We'll actually just rescue those Kerbal Nauts and bring them here. And then we'll send them back via, I don't know, or I'll send them back via some means later on. Probably when I'm just playing this on my own. But you know, it was a success, right? We successfully landed and 2/3 of the crew successfully didn't die. So that's a success. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good thing I don't work for actual NASA, because I think my definition of success versus their definition of success might be slightly different. So that's nearly done. Just going to be about 200-ish units of fuel, which for our orbital maneuvering purposes is probably sufficient. But you know, I went with probably sufficient before, and look where it got me. So, yeah, let's not cut corners this time. Let's not bodge things this time. Let's do it properly and fill up the rest of these. Oh, no, that's the command seat. Fill up the rest of these tanks. It'd be nice if there was a quicker way to pin these, like holding down a button when you open them, and then that kind of auto pins it. But sadly, that's not a feature. So there we go, that's one lot. I don't know if you can hear the wind whistling in my chimney, by the way, but, well, there's not a lot I can do about it if you can. Right, so, and once again, we just do the same thing. You can hold Alt as you right-click them. I mean, you can, to open up multiple things at once, but then if you click on the wrong thing, it... You know, like if I clicked on that seat or one of the RCS clusters or something, at that point you can't kind of un-alt click it. At least you couldn't last time I played it. Anyway, we get to enjoy the music. Let's see. Oh wait, we can't actually. I was gonna say let's jump to the interior view, but no, you can't, because otherwise that will interrupt the fuel transfer. So we're basically stuck looking at this screen for a little while longer. But I can at least get rid of the UI. We can see everything floating by in silent majesty. It is a bit of an odd design for a station, this, I'm not going to lie. Although it's not the worst looking space station I've ever... You know, this is one that actually started off as a contract station, and then I just expanded it to have the fuel operation because it made sense, rather than setting up a whole new station. And just use the core of what I already had there. And I could even add more bits to it, but there's not really any need to. Wow, this does take such a long time. We're only just about getting to halfway there. With these teeny tiny Oscar B fuel tanks. Heck, even if you don't have tweak scale, I think on the modded build there's extended parts that adds kind of Oscar B scale, you know, Oscar B diameter, which is what, 0.625 diameter tanks, but like longer ones. So I could just have single tanks instead of having to have 5 tanks in a stack to fit the size of lander that I want. It kind... Well, it's sort of Latika Mafia in that, you know, in Subnautica you just build big underwater tubes. It is a very tubular base, this. And I basically stuck the... because it basically started off as like this upper stack here. So the science lab and then a couple of crew modules, and then I think the cupola was part of the contract, so that was there. That was, you know, a necessity as well. And then I stuck these bits on here, so storage fuel tank and then some ore storage tanks and then the actual processor units. But those aren't running at the moment. And because I clicked on the thing, I've got to set it going again. I think you get points just for working Delta V in there, Cyber Wraith. This is going to be the advantage of watching this back later on Twitch, is that you can see the chat, but I can't. Well, you won't be able to see the chat on YouTube, though, if this does go up as a VOD. I mean, I did figure out how to get MooBot working again. You know, like an auto moderator, but I can't remember how I did it for the on-screen notifications. There was some kind of plug-in with OBS, and I honestly can't remember what it was. And if you know, you just go and search for Twitch plugins, you come up with huge lists of things that aren't what I'm looking for. So we're fully fueled. We need a pilot for this little shindig. If I... wait, how... Oh, I've forgotten... this is ridiculous. I've forgotten how you transfer pilots, which is, you know, slightly basic. Where even are the crew? We see at a glance where the crew are. Right, there is a pilot in there, that's fine. I think we've got... Do we have anybody in the science lab? I don't think so. Where are the other 2 crew members? They've got to be in that that module, surely. No, I've lost the other 2 crew members. I know they're in there somewhere. They're hiding from me. Where are you guys? Seriously. Are you in the science? They might actually be in the science thing. Right, transfer crew. No, they are in the science lab. Oh, I'm just a dummy. That's what it is. So, yeah. It's just literally just right click and transfer crew. I'm so rusty at this game. So we've got... Oh, they're both scientists, but you know what? It doesn't matter. It's MechJeb that's going to be doing the work. So we'll stick them in there and drop a little quick save. And we also need to make sure we've got monoprop, but I think we do. Oh, no, we don't. Okay, that's actually kind of important. Oh, no, wait, that's fine. There's 45 monoprop in that base tank, so that's fine. So we're going to undock this, and then we're going to have the fun of me trying to manually dock it. Right, so, no, not disable crossfeed. We want undock. We want to push away. Turn the lights on, and N. There we go. I can very vaguely remember what the correct RCS controls are. Do we have? Although there we go. There's the aerial. I seem to remember it being in an awkward place, but apparently that is not, in fact, true. So we've got 2 Kerbals to rescue. So we'll go for Dafuki first. Oh no, I meant to set as target. I clicked entirely the wrong button there. I don't know if we have any mods extant at the moment. Right, switch back to the lander. Which hasn't, fortunately, magically jerked forward to crash into... Yeah, so, set as target. And then we want to... Wait, isn't there a... Yeah, there we go, the rendezvous autopilot, because you can do it all with the maneuver planner, but the rendezvous autopilot's kind of like an all-in-one thing that does it for you. So actually we want to get to within, we'll say 50 meters. And we need to disengage, because I've just realized we haven't actually activated the engines, which is a slight necessity. Right, so engage autopilot. Also, we'll turn off RCS, because we, I believe, should have enough torque. I think there's a reaction wheel somewhere in this thing, or if not, there is yeah, there's reaction wheels in the actual command capsule, so we don't want to waste the RCS spinning this thing around, because we need to save the RCS for when we actually come back to dock with the station. So, yeah. Not quite sure why it's, is there something slightly obscuring the... No, that's just something in the skybox being a bit weird. Shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, that's a very odd little visual bug right there. Never mind. So this has got, you know, fully fueled, this has got like 3,000 meters a second delta V. So, okay, half tanks would have been fine for our particular mission, but anyway, it's fine. It's all according to plan. Possibly, maybe, probably. So yeah, basically it's going to decelerate to get an intercept point. But the thing is... Okay, okay, we'll do this. We'll do this. I'm actually going to have to, because otherwise, well, I'll show you what happens if I don't put the screen up. You get my desktop. Because, yeah, right. To actually type in the chat. So this is all highly professional. Do we not have anybody with a mod sword at the moment? Apart from Moobot. Tell you what, Cat, we'll give you a mod sword. You seem like a trusty sort. So there we go, everybody got a nice view of my desktop. Wasn't it wonderful? So we should be closing in. There we go, there's Dafuki. It's the Enterprise B. It's the Excelsior class Master Systems display. I think it is specifically the Enterprise B rather than the Excelsior. Although, having said that, it might be the Excelsior. Wait, let's take a little look. Does it have the... I think it is the Enterprise B because it's got the kind of the sticky out bits you can just see on the outline there. Anyway, that's my nerdy desktop. So we've got about a minute while we're closing in. This is only a single occupancy thing, of course, but we've also got these command seats on top, which was the whole point of this vehicle, was to be able to take multiple crew down to the surface and have them just ride on the outside, essentially. Because, you know, we're not doing atmospheric landings with this. It's all on airless voids, so, yeah. On airless voids in an airless void. You know what I mean. Yes, we're landing on an airless void. That makes sense. It's very grammatically correct. Anyway. It could go a little faster, but there's no way to tell it to go a bit faster, really. So what we'll have to do after this is we'll have to push out our orbit a little bit, and then it'll do the same thing. It'll match orbits with Mirette there. It's a pity we couldn't save all of the crew, but I just couldn't... You know, if I'd maybe set it to begin with for like a 10-kilometre orbit, but then a 10-kilometre orbit I think is actually still too low. I think you're at risk of smashing into the terrain. But maybe if I'd, you know, gotten more flight time, as it were, gotten more time to get out, I could have rescued all 3 Kerbal Nauts, but never mind. Right, so, well, there we are. We're actually where we want to be. Right, and the good news is we do still have, where are we, enough Delta V, more than enough Delta V and monoprop. Well, the same difference essentially. And monoprop equals the Delta V in this case, to actually whiz our way over. And boop. But we do have to then reset control to because if you put someone in a command seat, it automatically, the game just assumes that you want to then control it from that command seat. So do another little quick save, and if I set as target, we might actually just be able to have it do that automatically. Not sure. Well, 7 kilometers. I'd forgotten. I knew it was low. And I think Minmus is even lower, but yeah. We probably could have done it, but, you know, everything was happening at once. And I had no idea if I had enough fuel for a takeoff, and I just tried to do a takeoff anyway. The safer thing would have been just to leave it sat on the ground and have sent this thing down to go and rescue them, and then they'd all be alive. But as we've established, yeah, competency is not my strong point. Although it's not so much that as just being horribly rusty at this game, so yeah. So a nice little sunrise there as we come over the bright side of the moon. Right, so how long are we... Okay, yeah, so it's establishing a slightly higher orbit, 48 kilometers, and then it'll establish an intercept point once it's gone to that slightly higher orbit. So it must be a slightly uncomfortable ride for Defuki there, but because we're playing almost unmodded KSP, you know, there's no life support. If there was life support, this particular design would not be viable. Right, so another 3 hours, although not obviously 3 hours in real time. So the intercept. You know, we could see it as the good news of this mission being that we've left no, you know, space junk in orbit around the moon or anything. We may have made a new crater, but there's no litter left over, so we've been very clean and conscientious in that regard, right? Yeah. Hey, Sir Conqueror. Yeah, this looks like it's going to be several phasing orbits before it gets to the point where it wants to be. So, I don't know, this is a good moment for me to ask, has everybody been enjoying it then? Has the stream quality been okay? I actually slightly lowered it from what it was yesterday because I've been running speed tests throughout the day, and the upload speeds have been incredibly variable. It's the lowest I clocked it at was something like 4.16 megabits a second, and then I think the fastest was something like 6.3. So yeah, it's kind of going up and down by what, 2-ish megabits, which is not exactly predictable. I think I'm going to, as I said at the start, I think I'm going to bring my ISP tomorrow anyway, because it's just not been reliable recently. It's been okay so far, touch wood. We're getting on for an hour 50, just about. In fact, 2 hours almost if you count the music at the start. Yeah. Of course, even if it does derp out, I'm still local recording, so there's that. But yeah, it's not great. I've been disconnected multiple times in the middle of games in warships, which has gotten me killed more than once. Right, so there is Miret off in the distance. 13 kilometers away, so we're reasonably close to our intercept. Well, having said reasonably close, there's still actually quite a ways until the actual intercept. It's just, you know, that's the nature of orbital mechanics, I suppose. It's just going to creep closer and closer until we get to, there we go, where we want to be. 27 kilometers above the Mun. We're actually popping out less than 100 meters away as well. That's going to be really quite close. In fact, that's almost dead on the money. We set it to go for 50 meters, so 44 meters, and it doesn't even have to maneuver closer, it just got to within 44 meters. So we expended a lot more of Miret's RCS, probably more than we had to, in our haste to not have her crash into the... I can't even remember the pilot's name. Poor guy. Poor Kerbal. He died and nobody even remembers his name, or I certainly don't remember his name. So RIP that Kerbal, who was so forgettable that we've even forgot his name when he died. But it'll be listed in the astronaut complex, I believe. So, control from here. So we want to basically get rid of that. Re-rendezvous. Oh, it's there. I was just thinking, have I closed the rendezvous pilot? But no, it's just kind of minimised itself. So we want to do the same thing. Get back to the space station, and then we'll have to spacewalk these guys over before redocking, and then we get to have the hilarity of seeing me try to redock. So there's that. Oh, yes, engage, there we go. So in all of this, we've only burned off about 240 meters a second delta V. Which is really not a lot in the scheme of things. And none of this was even for science or, you know, exploring new frontiers. It was literally just to plant a flag on the moon to complete a contract. So, it's not like it was even important. Oh well. That poor Kerbal. I'm not quite sure what it's pushing out the periapsis a little bit, but that's not... Oh, unless it's establishing a phasing orbit. Yeah, it was establishing a phasing orbit. Indeed, Shadow, all glory to the Hypnotoad. I think I've still got that somewhere. The thing that Ginge made for me. But I've forgotten where it is. It'll be buried in a folder somewhere. So this is the last but one burn. And, you know, being Kerbal Nauts, they seem absolutely fine with the whole ordeal. It's you know, they've had one of their crewmates die. They nearly died themselves. They had to make a leap out of a spacecraft that was crashing to the ground and use their RCS packs to get themselves into orbit. But that's just in a day's work for a Kerbal Naut, really. There's nothing special there. Yeah. I do love that they just seem completely unfazed. Right, there we go. You get the relative velocities down. Actually, that's fine. So, drop a quick save. Right, so we basically just have to... Yeah, they've both got enough EVA fuel for transiting back to the station. I always, even now, get slightly, just ever so slightly nervy about doing spacewalks. Because, you know, I don't want to mess it up horribly, but it's not as bad as it used to be. Right, how... That's a good question. How am I going to get these guys in? I think we'll just have to transfer them in one at a time through the science... docking ports, because there's already somebody there. Right, so I think that was Dafuki, so we need to transfer Dafuki out of there so that Mirette will also be able to enter. So transfer crew Dafuki to... I'll just say that crew module there. Because we can't dock when they're sitting in the command seats. Their heads would smash against the, you know, they wouldn't enjoy it, basically. Wouldn't be particularly good for them. They're rather hard-headed Kerbals, but even so, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't enjoy it very much. Almost, there we go. Actually transfer Mirette. Where are we? To, I think it was that one. So they'll be basically safe and sound in there and awaiting pickup. So, that just leaves... Right, that just leaves me trying to figure out which... It's one of these docking ports, isn't it? Now I could use MechJeb, which would make life easier. There's one thing I can use in MechJeb, and I think... It's one of these modes here. There we go. Par minus. So basically that kind of puts me in sort of the opposite direction that I want to go. Question is, how do I... Okay, so I'm going to have to figure out... Okay, this is the part where I start... Yes, that one. We want some sideways push and a little bit downwards. So we're moving almost a meter a second. Oh, not M. H. We'll arrest some of that thrust. We basically want to drift towards the station, and it's a little... That was it, wasn't it? Yeah. Now, there are mods that make this particular thing easier. Right, we need to go... No, that's the lights. Wait, if I force roll... There we go. Also keep an eye on my... We've got loads of monoprop. If I was using MechJeb to do this, it probably would use up a lot more monoprop. But no, I keep hitting the M key when I don't mean to hit the M key. Okay, 60 meters. We need to be, like, down. No. It's remembering which button does what is the tricky part. Okay, there we go. Now there is one particular really useful little UI add-on mod which basically gives you a kind of a proper target that you can use to help line yourself up. It's not even any kind of particular like it's not. It doesn't do anything for you other than just give you extra information that makes docking a lot easier, essentially. Oh, I think we actually want a bit more. We're just kind of sliding up. Right, so what basically we want to get a relative velocity to nil when we're kind of opposite the docking port, and oh, except we're not quite opposite the docking port, are we? So that's a bit of thrust that way, and no, a little bit of thrust that way. And I think we're lined up such that we shouldn't be scraping the command chairs off the hull. It's remembering which key is which is really hard, you guys. Right, oh no, we're drifting the wrong way. Slightly up. Slightly to the... There we go. Right, no, it's H, there we go. Yes, remembering which button is which is really, you know, it's not particularly intuitive controls. Right, I don't think we're quite approaching this thing dead on. I'll actually turn off the... Right, we want to... Oh, L, there we go. Slightly in that direction. We're very gently drifting towards it, it's just a matter of lining up correctly. And then we want to be... Oh, very slightly that direction. I think we're kind of getting there. It's kind of hard to tell. It sort of doesn't look like it from... There we go, a little puff from that direction. That seems like we're more or less lined up. Oh, no we're not! No, we're not at all! See, it's deceptive. It's actually really hard to... Okay, we need to be down. And... Oh, H. It's really deceptive trying to keep it straight in all three axes. Oh, maybe. Oh, that's not quite straight. Oh, it's trying to. Oh, J. Then I think up a little. Yeah, we just slightly bumped one of the chairs off there. Come on. Nope. It's quite difficult because the you know, we've got to dock them together fairly precisely. Right, now we're drifting away from it. Come on. Come on, baby. You can do this. Oh, a bit too much. It's just little tiny... Oh, we're drifting past. Other way, other way. We can do this, it's just super fiddly. Oh, no, wrong one. Punch it, punch it. Well, not punch it, but there we go. Ta-da! We got there in the end. We got there in the end. Anyway, so I can still do that though. I can still manually dock. I haven't lost that skill. It's just super fiddly and time consuming. So, transfer crew. How much monoprop did we lose? Or use up rather in that process? About 10 units. That's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. Oh, right. We do have to shut down the engines just so I don't have an accidental repeat of what I did before. Right, so now we can wrap the stream up, basically. I'll get these guys home at some point on my own, but yeah, that was okay. You know, apart from the part where we crashed a spacecraft and managed to kill one of our Kerbal. Apart from that, it was completely fine. What I expect, this is Kerbal Space Program, in which you build your own rockets and try not to kill your astronauts, which is something I completely failed at today. So, yeah, we got there in the end, and it actually turned out to be quite fun, because sometimes in this game failure is fun, and it's figuring out how to undo your own mistakes that becomes, you know, the most interesting thing that you can do. So, thank you everybody for tuning in. We actually, I think, had like 40 people watching at some point, which was, considering how badly I've been fumbling, is not too bad. But hopefully I'll get back into the rhythm of this, and it'll be a little more competent, but hopefully as enjoyable. So, wherever you are, I wish you a good evening, and I shall see you next time.